Steelers Nation, how we doing? This is episode 89 of the Steelers Culture Podcast, where we break down Pittsburgh Steelers football. And we got some bad news coming out of training camp.
Yeah, it's one of those training camp injuries. Once again, guys, it's one of those things you don't want to hear or you don't want to see about, especially when it pertains to the wide receiver position for the Steelers entering the 2024 season. We are so bare at the position right now, it's not even funny. It's quite concerning. All we have is George Pickens, and that's it. This might benefit Pat Freiermuth. He might get used a lot more. He might get a lot more targets, which should very well be the case. But Roman Wilson will be out for at least 2 weeks. He is week to week with I think it's an ankle injury.
Yeah, which he sustained at training camp during a jet sweep.
Yes, of all plays, a jet sweep. You would think after the last 4 or 5 years of using a jet sweep at least 3 times a game, they would erase it from their playbook with a new scheme. No, they thought using a jet sweep on a 7 shots play with Roman Wilson was going to help their odds and helping the offense and winning at 7 shots. No, it resulted in Roman Wilson getting injured. He got rolled up. His ankle got rolled up, and now, according to Jeremy Fowler, sources clarify Steelers wide receiver Roman Wilson, who was carted off with an ankle injury, as week to week, and that he'll be okay. So he could miss some time, but the injury does not appear serious, which is a good thing. That was the main concern. He got carted off, as I'll show you guys right here. This scared everybody that he got carted off, because typically the cart isn't a good sign, but that is him getting carted off right there after that play.
Yeah, and it's something that you never want to see.
No. So it's unfortunate that Roman Wilson is going to be out what I believe will be the rest of training camp, which is not good for him, because rookies, especially a guy like him at a position at wide receiver for the Steelers, that is massive. It is tough for him to miss that significant amount of time.
And I have to imagine this is crushing for Roman Wilson, because he was off to a very hot start for training camp for the Steelers. Very high expectations for Roman Wilson coming out of the Steelers view and Steelers Nation's view.
Yes, because he was racking up some good days, man. And, of course, the wide receiver 2 position is still up in the arms, and many people, us included, had him as the favorite to grab it. Now, he might be out the rest of training camp. That doesn't mean he won't be out the rest of preseason. I would anticipate him missing the first game versus the Texans. He could be back for the second game versus the Bills, maybe on the 17th of August. So perhaps maybe that's when he's back, but he'll be out at least 2 weeks according to Jerry Dulac.
Yeah, and I would have to imagine when he's ready to come back, the Steelers are going to ease his way back into practice, back with the team, just to make sure that nothing else happens, because Wilson could be a huge component to the offense and for Russell Wilson.
Right, because, it's still a case where he could come in and still have an immediate impact despite him missing pretty much all the training camp outside of 5 days. This was the first day of pads, and he got hurt because of a jet sweep, and his ankle got rolled up. Accidents happen, injuries happen in football. It's an inevitability you cannot avoid, but it just sucks for the Steelers. It sucks for him. It sucks for the situation, because now what do the Steelers do at wide receiver? They have Van Jefferson. They have Calvin Austin. They got Quez Watkins on the roster. That's it. Scotty Miller, but that's it. Those are your 4 guys that are competing for the number 2 spot if Roman Wilson's not going to get it week 1. So probably like Van Jefferson and Calvin Austin, who are most likely to battle for that position. Van Jefferson's probably going to be the favorite due to that veteran aspect and just due to what he's done in the past and what he's done with the Rams with Stafford and Goff.
Yeah.
And, of course, it's just Calvin Austin. He's coming into his second full year, third year technically. So we'll see if he can continue to step up with a new scheme. Zach Asani, Coach Z has put him over in the past, so maybe this is his time to step up. Maybe he gets time with the ones he can really show off his speed and his route running ability and his separation.
Yes, seriously, this is a big opportunity for these guys in a really concerning wide receiver group. I mean, we talked about it earlier in the offseason when it came to the wide receiving room when Deontay got traded, and Roman Wilson got drafted afterward. We still said that, if an injury were to happen, knock on wood,
and here we are,
then the rest of the wide receiving room, the depth, is very concerning.
It's
and here we are right now talking about it.
I don't want to say undependable, because that's yet to be determined. It's just not favorable. Van Jefferson, yes, has has success in the past, but hasn't really done much recently. Calvin Austin, underutilized last year for sure, but not much production. Same thing with a Scotty Miller. Same thing with a Quez Watkins. It's just not there. You have Pickens. You have Muth, who should get involved more. Maybe Darnell Washington as well. You got your 2 pass-catching running backs and Najee Warren. So you got targets, and plus they're going to rely heavily on the run game still. That's not going to change, especially with the new quarterbacks in the system as well.
Yeah.
Be able to use their mobility. So it might not be that big of a loss than what we might be thinking of initially, but still, we don't have a true wide receiver 2 on the roster. So could this mean the Steelers could make a move for a veteran?
I would say it's a necessity at this point. I mean, these guys will be given a true test, a bigger test, I would say, right now with Roman Wilson out for 2 weeks. But in today's NFL, we all know that you need a credible wide receiver too.
Yes.
Even if you're very run heavy and whatnot, you still need top targets in the league that you can rely on.
And I think that the pressure is on the Steelers more now than it ever was because they had that backup plan. They had that hope for Roman Wilson, and the hope is still there. It's just the fact that he's probably going to miss the rest of training camp. That's big for someone like that. So they're going to have to make a move. They're going to have to add somebody in the wide receiver room. It's a necessity. Now, who that could be? Well, let's start with the free agents, and I'll tell you right now, the room is dead. It is rough. We got Hunter Renfrow. We got Russell Gage, who has some of that prior experience with Arthur Smith. You got Michael Thomas, who's probably the best option. He's
probably the most fragile at the same time.
Exactly. You got Randall Cobb. Like, that's it. There's no one else.
Cobb retired, man.
Cobb retired?
Cobb retired, yeah. So
that's news to me.
It just goes to show the wide receiving room is very bare.
Dude, at this point, you might as well bring back Martavis Bryant.
He's trying to make a comeback. Why not, right?
He's been trying to make a comeback to no success.
No, seriously, like the Steelers, yeah, this is something that they have to address.
Now, if they were bringing one of those free agents, it's probably the favorite to be Michael Thomas. And he has, dude, his drop-off needs to be studied. Like, my God, I've never seen someone have such a great start to their career and have such a awful downfall.
Yeah,
He's done nothing the last 3 years.
You could really make a documentary on it, like what the hell happened to Michael Thomas?
Yeah, so bringing him in, yeah, I mean, he's experienced. He can have that big playability, but can he stay healthy? Will he want to be a depth piece?
Well, his medicals even pan out, first and foremost.
I don't know. It doesn't seem suitable for this. Maybe right now it seems suitable, but clearly it'd be like a 1-year deal. Maybe it's worth a shot to bring him in. You know, it's probably our best available option just of how desperate we are at that position. Or could this mean the Steelers actually are a little more aggressive in trading for a wide receiver? You guys know who I'm talking about. And he's not the only option. There's other names out there. But, you know, Ayuk potentially. I can't really think of any other receivers they could trade for. You know, I feel like if there's a receiver they're going to trade for, it ought to be Ayuk. Otherwise, if it's someone else, it just appears that a lot of Steelers fans will be a little disappointed, being that if they trade for wide receiver, why not just go big, right?
Yeah, of course.
But they could very well trade for wide receiver and it not be a guy like Ayuk. It just could be someone that's been dependable. It could be someone that's produced around the league or with a certain team that has no spot on that team right now. Who that is, I don't know.
Yeah, it could be a under-the-radar type of player that may not even be crossing our minds at the moment.
No.
I don't know. I don't know what the Steelers have in mind. I don't know what the Steelers' plan is with wide receiver 2. At the moment, I think that they're just going to give the guys that they have on the roster currently even more of a bigger test. They're going to give Zach Azzani even more of a bigger test for these guys to see if he can get their talent and potential out there for wide receiver 2.
Yeah, because the coaches and of course the front office has always put over the current roster. They've always said, that they are very comfortable with where they're at right now in terms of everybody on the roster. Now, if they're saying that, then clearly, you know, I trust this administration. I trust the front office and what they're doing. I mean, just look at the roster they've assembled the last 2 years. So when they say that, yeah, I do trust their statement. I do believe in that. But lately, just looking at the names and looking at the stat production the past couple of years, I kind of find it hard to put my full faith in those words.
It's hard to find confidence in that. The production in these guys recently has just not been wide receiver 2-esque.
No.
It's just been wide receiver 4-esque, to be honest with you. For these guys to step up to try to be wide receiver 2, I mean, that's not going to be an easy task for them.
No. No, because they're really being asked for a lot right now for the wide receiver 2 position. So what the Steelers do in the future, what the Steelers do with this news, time will tell. They might not even do anything. Like Rob stated, they might just depend on who they have. Quez Watkins, Scotty Miller, Calvin Austin, Van Jefferson, right? And of course the weapons they have currently. They might just depend on them and see what they've been doing. They've been having a decent start to camp, so we'll see what happens within the next 2 weeks. But it could come to a point where, hey, they just might have to bring in somebody.
Yeah, and if that's the case, I don't think if they were to bring somebody in, I don't think it's going to be an immediate move they make.
No, and if unless it's like a big trade, it's not someone that's going to be the number 2 for the whole season.
No, I feel like at the moment the Steelers don't feel too pressured. They don't feel like they're panicking at the moment. Like they feel like this is not the end of the world for them right now, for them to just say, screw it, let's make the move, let's make the trade or make a trade or whatnot.
Right.
Again, I think they're just going to give the guys the opportunity to go out there and see what they can showcase. But if they don't do enough to their liking, then I think that's when a move will happen. What type of move, I don't know.
I don't know. I will throw this name out there. How about a Darius Slayton from the Giants? Because they have a stacked wide receiver room, you know. They got names. He's being thrown down the chart, especially with the emergence of Malik Nabers.
Yeah,
he's
that's right.
produced with Daniel Jones as a quarterback the past couple years, putting up some decent stats as their 2. So I'm gonna throw his name out there. Maybe he's someone that the Giants could look to trade during the final cuts, and maybe Khan could bring him in for an upgrade of a position there. I'll throw his name out there. If there's any other names you guys want to throw out for potential trade candidates or free agents or anyone else they could bring in, please put in the comments below, because I feel like the Steelers are more pressured to make a move now than they ever were for wide receiver. So we'll see what happens, man. How you guys feeling about Roman Wilson's injury? Thank God it's not serious. At worst, he's going to miss all of training camp. He could be back for the final preseason game, maybe the final 2 preseason games. So we still could see some of Roman Wilson before the regular season hits. But the good thing is, it's not serious. He won't be out a long time, and he will be ready for week 1 no matter what.
Yeah.
That's the good thing. So hoping Roman Wilson gets a safe and speedy recovery. Shout out to him, having a good camp thus far, and hope that the Steelers can find some success in the wide receiver room. Let us know you guys' thoughts in the comments below. Give us any potential names down in the comments as well. See you in the next one. Here we go, Steelers.
And as always, like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you later.
Peace!